Okay. Well, with the exercise about to do with my lesson of how to cope with the loss of the queen. Um, if you haven't seen, I already posted the written version on the blog, and you can go ahead and read it about it now. I'm gonna demonstrate with a game that I'm currently playing. Um, this is the analyze board version of it. It's not. This isn't the live. The game's still going. It hasn't ended, but I'm gonna use it to demonstrate a couple of the subjects that I brought up in my blog. Um, okay, so the one of the things that I suggest is when you're starting out to learn how to look ahead, you use the scenario 6x6. 6 likely scenarios, and then go 6 moves deep from the starting point of that scenario. And then whenever you or your opponent makes the move, have replace that move played with what would be the next move 6 moves down. And you would know what that is if you actually think about it and look ahead. Now, right now, my pawn took the first piece off the board, first pawn of the board on d5. So, what's my plan here? What's going on in my head? Well, I'm gonna explain exactly what I'm thinking as I'm thinking it while I'm studying the board. Before I made the move, this was the position. He just pushed his pawn onto the bishop. Now, to me, I'm acknowledging that he's attacking my bishop, and I have only got one square to go to. It's b3, and then he would either bring his knight to the side to try and win the bishop off, but that really doesn't do anything, and it makes a particularly strong knight. It turns it into basically my bishop is not really valuable because it's not doing anything. It's not able to do anything, and he's getting rid of a perfectly good knight for a pretty poor bishop. So, and what's more is I'm thinking if I let him take that, which I'm gonna lose in exchange, then his pawns are doubled up on the side. The other way I could do it is sometimes I do the sacrifice exchange. A piece is worth 3 pawns, so I take the 2 pawns and just go 1 pawn down in the exchange. The reason why I like doing this is because when I have the knight on the square, I have a good attack on the basically the bishop squares and the squares in front. And my knights look more threatening when they can get to those squares. Also, what I am seeing is I got my knight on the side here. It's supported by the bishop. I'm expecting him to at some point to push the pawn on to attack my knight to push it away, because it can be pretty uncomfortable with a knight sitting on these particular squares. Also, right now, the black has a really potential weakness, which is the e5 square, because the only thing that's guarding that square is his knight on c6. So if I could get the knight to this square or a good piece like a rook or a queen, it would be really good, because the only other piece that could come out and attack that square is the bishop. Also, what I'm thinking about is another scenario is like his king is pretty much stuck in the open, and it would be nice if I could get a good potential attack on the king's side for him to worry about, instead of worrying about him coming down on my queen side. I do notice the diagonal is exposed on my h2 pawn. He could put the queen on to c7 and follow up with the bishop on d6, and that looks pretty threatening. Then he could, after he pushes the knight away, my knight would have to retreat, and thereby he can bring the knight to g4 and reverse the situation onto me, and then eventually castle himself. So that's 4 scenarios. The other potential is I wanted to think about putting my bishop on to f4 at one point, to stop him bringing his bishop on to d6. Try to prevent him doing that attack on my h2 before it even gets off the ground. He would have to settle with winning his bishop to e7 to castle. His position looks kind of cramped compared to my good strong defense of my pawn structure. So the only thing that right now that I have to concern myself with is this bishop on the side. So I went ahead and like I've explained before, the potential is sometimes better than actually implementing it. So the way that I'm seeing the last scenario and the one that I went with is pawn takes pawn. It attacks the knight and it also attacks the pawn on e6. If he goes ahead and takes my bishop, I get the knight back for it. His pawns are doubled on the side and look horrible. And he has an isolated pawn on c5 then, and he loses a knight. His other piece is still at home, not able to do anything, and it'd be pretty much trapped by his own pieces. And he hasn't castled yet, while I have. I also looked at this scenario, the variation. So instead of that possibility, right, that's my move. So I've got to look at all the moves that he could do in reply to this. Now, what he could do is he could take the pawn with his knight on f6 and exposing an attack on my knight with his queen. The knight is protected, so it's not really much of a threat, but it's something that I've got to be thinking about just to make sure that I don't go ahead and push to f4 and forget about my knight handing. I did decide that if he goes and takes with the knight, I would take back. His best move would have to be to recapture, because he would go a whole piece down if he didn't. So with the pieces off the board, the position would be like this, and my next move would be rook in the middle. Again, a good centralized position in the middle. The entire time the entire time the threat is on the king, but he still has a threat of attack on my bishop, so I've still got to keep that in mind. And then what we have to do is, okay, let me go back because it doesn't, I should do the proper move just so you can see the move count. Knight takes knight. So after going 3 moves in, the next 3 moves I anticipate is bishop to hit, went into castle and attacking my knights, which is a potential problem, because now he's secure his castle. He can go ahead and castle after I move my bishop. But for some reason I'm seeing a really nice attack here, and I really do like it a lot. Now this is an example of how powerful the queen is, because I see a really good strong attack with my queen here, and I can stop him from castling, and if he's not careful he could end up in checkmate. And I can also support my knight with 2 pieces in exchange for potentially sacrificing the bishop on the side. The entire time it's still there, still under attack. But I believe that my play, if it goes move to move, that I'll win. So 3 moves in, my queen, oops, beg your pardon. I want to bring my queen out to here. Now what does this do? Black is under a threat of checkmate with the knight supporting the queen on f7. If black went ahead and castles, queen can take h7 and it's checkmate. If black is not able to take the knight because the bishop is still pinned, so effectively that piece is non-existent. It's useless. Now I struggle to see what the best move is here at this point. For black, I struggle because I see a lot of potential moves, but I honestly don't see a way on how he's going to stop my attack. The only thing I can see him stopping the checkmate on f7 is pawn to g6. All I have to do then is bring my queen to h6, and it's all over pretty much because I'm behind his lines. His king cannot move, his bishop can still not take, and the only thing that he can do or risk doing is how somehow getting the knight into the game. Like, if that knight was on f5, it can protect that g7 square. Now I see it taking 2 moves for the knight to get to that square, from c6 to d4, and then finally to f5 to attack the queen. Now can black get away with it? Okay, so black's move is queen knight to d4, sorry. Queen to g7. Sorry, the reason why I'm getting delay in saying the moves is because I'm still thinking of the next move ahead in my head, and it's a little bit hard to catch up with my thinking of what I'm trying to say to you. So the knight d4, queen to g7. He can't immediately go to f5, because if it does, it's checkmate on f7. He has to bring the rook to f8 to protect from the mate. And then when you do that, knight goes to h7, attacking the rook, and that is game over because there's no way he can stop the checkmate then. Okay, so from that move that I did, e4 to d5, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got, as you can see, 6 moves ahead. And even at this position now, 6 moves ahead, I have another 6 moves that I'm planning to do. And constantly, I swear to God, I am looking for his best answers. I want to know, how can he stop my attack? So I know when he plays it, I know what to expect. And if he plays anything else, I know it to be a mistake, or it's something that I could have overlooked. But I have experience enough to know what's what. Now, what I'm saying is, what I try to say in my head without moving the pieces, is if he goes ahead and does this, queen goes to g7, he has to go there to protect the rook and stop the checkmate. Knight takes h7, and then there's nothing he can do to protect that rook from checkmate. Yes, there is. Okay, so that is not totally dead after all. If I use the knight to take the h7 pawn, then he's going to put the bishop to here, look. Blocks the pin, frees the bishop to be able to move, gives the king an escape square, and it's not checkmate anymore. And the f7 pawn is protected twice, attacked only once. Well, now I may go ahead and take the rook. But if I do that, he's just going to take back with the knight, attack my queen. Queen has to come back to e5, and then he has a whole range of. Oh no, I can't do that. I'm going to lose a bishop. If I don't have an immediate threat, I'm going to lose a piece. Oh, I see how. I think bishop to. No. What's the best move for right after this? I'm seeing bishop to h6 here. Get a really good attack going on the rook, but that really doesn't apply. Because there is a combination of moves here that I am half seeing that would work out, but it's not quite there yet, and it's frustrating as hell. So you gotta let it go. Let me make sure. The knight's protecting the bishop, so that doesn't even work. I was thinking something crazy is like rook takes bishop, pawn takes, queen takes pawn, check, fork in the king. Then bishop comes to g5 check. If that knight wasn't there, it would be perfect. Because, look, knight takes... Queen. Check. No, it's not that perfect at all, actually. I was looking for some kind of sacrifice, and there's none there. Well, there you go. Well, there's my main point of this was to show you that how a player thinks and how it looks at absolutely everything there is and look at the best possible moves. And right now I'm waiting for him to reply to my move. And I've already worked out several possible scenarios, as you've seen, and I'm waiting. I'm only on move 10. I'm ready for the next 8 moves for what he should do to this. And it's how it starts from. Like, I've already got a vision on how to get to his king. I'm sure he's seeing this, so I'm sure he knows my game plan now, so it's going to be even more interesting. Okay. Queens are really nice to have on the board, but they do cause a distraction. They really do, because queens are only as good as the king. Behind every strong, successful king is a strong, intelligent queen. A queen demands her king to be strong, so even without her, he can finish what she started. A good queen doesn't need the credit. Everyone already knows who controls who. And it's true in real life. Everyone knows your wife or girlfriend is the brains behind her boyfriend or husband. So, she only just makes the king or the guy believe that he's in charge without actually being in charge. It's a cool skill. The whole point and the whole reason why people struggle with the king, the queen being off the board, is because a player, a beginner, is so desperate to keep the game simple because they cannot think too far ahead. They can't, they need to keep it simple because they can't understand the game of chess. They can't think that far ahead. It overcomplicates the scenario for them to understand. And that's why it becomes imperative that they keep the queen on. And that's why people do become so attached, mainly beginners, to the queen. Now, the best way to go ahead and practice without your queen is, of course, practice. Okay, so as I said, the best way to learn is to practice playing without your queen. That way you learn not to become so dependent on a certain piece. I mean, this rule applies to any piece. If you become dependent on knights, play without knights, bishops works. I mean, if you really want to be thinking about it, you've got 8 potential queens right there in front of you. Just got to get them to the other end of the board. Easier said than done. But
E4.
Playing like this will make you have to think up new strategies, make you see what's going on without doing too much. There is even an option on Red Otter Pawn to do this. You can set up game starting without anything and offer up a game to anyone without the queens. I'll go ahead and start this one. Go ahead and play as black. Give the advantage of the first move to whoever takes the game. And if you guys want to offer me a game like this, by all means, I'll play without my queen. You can play with your queen. So I'll start this one. Oh, everybody 2 players. So I'll go ahead and start that one. And I'll go ahead and make a new one. And this time I'm going to play as black. And I'm not going to play with my queen. And I'm going to leave myself open to anyone that wants to play against me as white. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if anyone takes up those games. And you can do this. You can challenge me to this. Practice. Learn how to win without your strongest piece on the board. Because if you don't, she'll become your weakest. And that's the conclusion on this part of the video. And the video blog. Again, my post is here. This video will be put together and uploaded, and then the video will become available at midnight. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will post another blog sometime next week. I aim to do these when I have off from work. Have fun.